Hello, everyone, and welcome back to HockeyProspects.com YouTube channel. I'm Jérôme Bérubé. This is Brad Allen, and today, Brad, for this video, we're going to talk about two topics. We're going to talk about the underrated prospect from this class that we find are not getting enough love or ranked too low, or we'll explain. And then the first topic we're going to touch is the Russian class. Brad and I really always love scouting Russia, so we're going to talk about the top. Well, I'm not the top, like the main Russian prospect of this class. We're not going to touch on Pogachev and Sherbakov since we talked about them in the last video. So we're going to, start a bit after those two guys. So Russian that play North America also count. So we're going to talk about a few of those playing in North America. And Brad, we can start with one of your fave, Nikita Klepov, who plays in Saginaw. So maybe tell our audience maybe your quick take on Klepov from what you saw this season.
Yeah, for sure. Going in this, I had not seen him previously until he hit the Hlinka. I didn't see him in the USHL. And he immediately stood out to me as being able to just be a very intelligent offensive player, just very unique instincts for how to calibrate his offensive play, very good at extending his operational windows, which reminds me of Pavel Dorofeyev at the same age. There was some overlap for me with that. And what that means is doesn't force plays and is much more efficient than a player like we just talked about in our previous segment, Mathis Preston. So, is one of those types of players that put me on notice very early, but the toolkit wasn't there yet. It was, he's not the fastest player, not the best athlete, not the most explosive kid in open space. So that was where I really wanted to see if he could develop that. And I found over the course of the season in Saginaw there that he did develop enough of an adequate base for us where we could project him correctly. And then he started showing really unique attack skating that Lawrence and some of these other kids don't show. And he knows how to actually be deceptive when he's handling and controlling possession of the puck to compensate for his limited frame. And that's exactly what we have to see. It doesn't generate fake contact points to the same level as, say, somebody like William Eklund coming off the walls, but it's certainly above average. And one thing that's very unique about him is he's an actual natural dual threat. And there is not many of those in this draft, Jerome. How many dual threats do we have in this one? Not many. Wow. Klepov is absolutely one of them. So you're talking about an incredibly intelligent dual threat winger who can play in a top power play, be extremely dangerous with his wheelhouse on the man advantage, knows how to operate and extend his windows, has very good timing instincts, can drive possession at a rate that's a little bit unexpected. I would actually argue the way he drives possession isn't so dissimilar to Ivar Stenberg in some sequences. There is some overlap with Stenberg offensively and how they operate with their driving capacity, because like Stenberg, he not the best toolkit, not the biggest, right? So the huge thing for me and the big takeaway, and one of the main reasons that we are very bullish on him, is that despite being in a, let's say, loose, to put it mildly, loose system in Saginaw, not the most structured hockey you'll ever see, he developed a competent and very competitive 200-foot game. He's actually a pretty darn competitive player off the puck. He learned the thing with some players is when they're very naturally gifted, all they want is to wait for the next opportunity to arise to be able to get the puck and do something with it. That was an issue with J.P. Hurlbert earlier in the season for us, Jerome, which is one of the reasons we had to slow cook him. It took him time. Klepov showed better base instincts for understanding that if you defend well, you get the puck back faster. And for some kids in the junior tendencies, they don't really get that idea. He does. That reminded me of David Pasternak's development. Pasternak developed that over time. So it's one of those situations where I felt like his curve basically took off on the right trajectory. And the only time it really let up, I would say, was he ran out of steam towards the end of the season. He had a couple poor performances by the end of the year where the conditioning wasn't there because the skating mechanics are janky, and it's all about the conditioning at this stage. I think he fell flat a bit. But long term, there's a whole lot of potential here. Like this could, like in a redraft, if things go really right, I won't be shocked at all if he ends up top 10. I'm kind of mad at myself for dropping him and not pushing him slightly more, trying to push it. But there's a tremendous amount of potential with this player.
Yeah, we first saw him this season at the Olinka, where he had a really good tournament, where he showed. You mentioned his power play skills. Like USA basically won the tournament because of their power play.
Mhm.
And it was him. It was Extall, Zelensky on the top that top power play unit, and that's Sheila, not Sheila, Klepov. Like he really excel on the man advantage. Saginaw, like the way they play hockey, is you almost feel like they are in the power play all the time. The way
Yeah,
they
just
they
going.
run their team. So definitely a top six upside here. You mentioned also that kid competes. He's not just a skill, your typical Russian winger. Like he competes, he plays hard. So that can compensate a bit about the lack of speed that he has. So he moves, he keeps his feet moving on the ice, and he works hard. So we really like that about him. Okay, second Russian. One of my favorite, Brad, Maksim Sokolovskii out of the London Knights. First time I saw him, it was a 3 game sample. I think he played 8, 9, and 10 minutes in all those 3 games. At the start of the year with London, he was not getting much ice time. They had a lot of D's. He was super raw, obviously, and there's like also a communication issue. English not being too good. My first impression was like he looks like Zadorov on the ice, just massive human being, mobile, physical, not just physical, like nasty.
Mean, yeah.
We talk about Pugachev on the other video, the most physical forward. Like Sokolowski is the most physical defenseman, and he's nasty. He has great timing with his hits. He has destroyed a few kids in the OHL this season with like open ice hit, like vicious open ice hit. Obviously, being 6'7" does help when you hit a guy that's 5'10", 5'11". But he's a machine. He's raw. He's probably the most raw prospect you have in the draft. Like the runway with this kid is pretty impressive. Um, we think he's a really good skater, like top 5, top 10 skater in the class. Like someone mentioned me, someone sent me like a scouting report saying like he's not a good skater, he has bad feet. I was kind of shocked, honestly, seeing this because he can really go on the ice, and he's only, he's only at the beginning of his potential here, so he's only going to get better skating wise, and he's going to be when he's in his 20, Brad. He's 6'7", maybe 6'8", 255, 260 pound, and he can move. So that's and he's a bit of a psychopath on the ice. So all that combined, that's a bit of a scary combination here that you have with him. You see how much he got better as the season went on, with London trading a few defensemen. He started playing more often in the second half. Then he finished with a great performance in the playoff against the Sioux. He was matched up against Brady Martin, who's a top player in the OHL, top 5 pick last year. It was not Brady Martin did not have fun playing against Sokolovskii in
No.
that series. He like it was only 5 games, but he was like, okay, I'm done with Sokolovskii. So NHL teams, they all saw this, and they're like, interesting for a guy who was a healthy scratch quite often in the first half of the season for for different reason. Now they're like, wow, is like I mentioned Zadorov. I don't know if he's ever going to be as good as Zadorov, but it's very interesting. Um, an interesting case. I think he's going to go in the top 32 on draft day. That's a bit of my prediction. We have him 20. So we'll see. We'll see if he goes in the in the late first range. Um, so Brad, I know you. We all love that player. We have some disagreement a bit about not. It's not even disagreement about his puck skill, because we both agree that's the weaker part of his skill set. I guess we value it a bit differently based on each other's ranking, but that's the beauty of scouting, huh? So we can
Yeah, of
we
course.
agree on the
There's
player.
also
We just don't agree as much on the ranking as far as us, but that's every player is a bit different for ranking. So I'm a big Sokolovskii fan. What's your you can maybe touch a bit about the puck skills here. That's the thing he needs to get much better coming up in the next few years.
Well, yeah, the thing with it, I mean, 6'7", 240, he's going to be heavier than Dustin Byfuglien in his prime, which is like crazy to think about. Yeah, to your point, like he's Brady Martin, like he lives rent free in Brady Martin's head. This is like in Hereditary when the background sound effect you hear the entire movie is just that's all that Brady Martin's thinking about is Sokolovskii just breathing in his ear. It's just he did an unbelievable job of shutting down a top end prospect, and that is what he will be. He's a minute eater, he's an insulator, and he's a defensive specialist who's meant to shut down and be a matchup nightmare. Yeah, where we differ a little bit would be I would say the biggest one is the puck movement, getting out of the zone with the puck. To your point, some of the handling rate, the skill can break down on him a bit. It's also for me, it's a spatial awareness thinking thing where it's like, oh, I hope he can process at the rate necessary to hold when you project him out. That would be, I'd say, where we have a bit of a discrepancy, but I still see a lot of the same things that make him a very unique and special prospect. Like we're talking a complete unicorn. Like to Jerome's point, I've seen publicly as well, like people discussing how this is a below average skater. Like he has remarkable posture for his age. He's incredibly efficient. He's fast. He's very good at manipulating himself off his center line, which for a giant kid is very rare. It's like a Dean Letourneau type of levels. That is incredibly uncommon. There's some Zhao Jiwang overlap with the toolkit. Yeah. So like I couldn't disagree more with the lack of, like, people are saying he's like a slow and cumbersome skate. That is absolutely not the case. He projects to be able to eat ice in an instant, and he has a remarkable wingspan, and he is ridiculously mean. He is a punishing defenseman. The only defenseman who comes close to him in this draft is we'll get to him here in a bit, and that's Matyev. So it's you can't find these players if they hit. You can't find them. Like no team will trade him. If he hits, he'll be too invaluable, and he gives you such a unique matchup against any opposing team. And it goes back to what we talked about with Bogachev. Teams don't want to deal with this type of player. Like you're coming out of the game, you're black and blue, you got scars, taking a shower feels terrible, you're just in pain, right? And that's what you need. You need these type of players who can just completely overwhelm opposing teams. And that brings me to one characteristic I feel he shares with William McCann syndrome, which is despite being that big, like you could actually argue he has a swarming style, which is insane to think about. Like, and it goes back to the skating efficiency. It's one of the reasons I know we think we're right about the skating base, because he's so efficient. He can swarm on players, drape on them, hang on them, cross-check them up high in the neck, just barrel over them, smoke them anywhere. Like, it's ridiculous what he's capable of doing. It's just all about if the first pass can hold and how he evaluates the neutral zone options as he's transitioning with the puck. The other thing I'll say to close is he is not a one-and-done shooter at the line. You look at, I'll go back to William McCann again. William McCann, much more of a one-and-done stationary type of shot at the line. This player is not that. This player will spin off pressure. He will regularly take ice. He actually will flash plays where you're like, oh my goodness, if this is happening now, imagine what could it be in 5-6 years with his ability to activate through the neutral zone and his pinch. When he pinches, he could pinch the line and really make something happen occasionally. So that gives him added value and slightly more secondary offense than some people might think he presents.
Yeah, I mean, his shot needs a lot of improvement. Like he has really a hard time getting his shot through. So that's why you look at his stats line. There's not many. Like I think he scored his first goal like really late in the year. So
good celebration.
Yeah. So, but his hands are not bad. He's poised also. But yeah, the efficiency of his passing needs to get better. But I don't see how he doesn't play. If Logan Stanley is an encounter,
it took some time for Logan Stanley too, though.
I know
it took some time.
But like there's similar guys, and he skates way better than Stanley. I would argue he's even more mean than Stanley. I don't know. So we'll see. Let's move on, Brad, to the third one we want to talk about. Ilia Morozov. Again, another Russian playing in North America.
Is
playing in college.
Belarus? Is he Belarusian, Jerome?
No, he's Russian.
Is he Russian? Oh, I
Yeah.
thought he was Belarusian for some reason.
So yeah, he played in college this year. He on our list, he just missed our top 32. He's 33.
Yeah.
So we have time for him. We think he'll play. We just think the upside is a bit limited here. I think he's more of a fourth line player, so he fits in the where we have command,
Lawrence, and
yeah. Mutrin, who's a winger, maybe in that same projection. What's funny about him is that his first season in college and his first season in USHL last year were very similar. As he started the year on fire, getting his points, and then he goes on a long stretch of just couldn't get anything going offensively for himself. Same thing happened last year in the USHL at a big fall classic. Then just his production, was not there anymore. So that's why I think the upside is limited. And also some of his points that he got this year in college, like Christian or USHL scout will like remind us about this. It's like he was getting points against bad team. So when the schedule got a bit tougher, not as much. But he does have a good toolkit. He's a 6'2" center. We love his physicality. Like his motor is really good. But there's some limitation here. I did mention in one of our last meeting, there's a bit of like Martinuk who plays for the Hurricanes with him. Who, if he plays in the NHL, that could be a bit of his identity at the NHL level, like as a fourth line center that can kill penalty, plays physical. Nothing wrong with that, but don't really want to draft that type of player in my top 20, top 25. So yeah. Brad, you want to mention a few things here about Morozov?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. First of all, I was pretty impressed with the kid off the ice. His interviews with the combine, everything. The muscle quality on this kid, there's always a stronger Russian. Jerome, that's just the way it is, man. Like for everybody out there who's into strength sports and everything, like if you gave him the right substances, maybe an Andrei Smayev type of prototype, this kid is a monster in the making. And that is important for him because he's a very prototypical power forward in terms of how he thinks the game, meaning he looks to drive and dictate and put his shoulder down and lean into you and cut through you. And only if you stop him, that's when he'll open up his options. He does not think about multi-option plays. He's not an advanced thinker. He looks to dictate, drive, become a havoc generator, and get to the net. If you stop him, that's when he'll think about finding trailing options, pulling back to the point, finding options then. But that's where the fourth line projection comes in. If he is to supersede our projection of that, it would come down to the fact that he learns to augment how he attacks. He learns to slow himself down occasionally so that he can create new lanes for himself, adjust his lanes for himself, and just he doesn't have to play a complex game. He's a powerful kid with a tremendous base. Not the most explosive. He's not Pugachev skater, but he's a solid skater. He'll be fine in terms of his skating base. So it's very unlikely for him not to play them. And that's one of the reasons we still have him up there. It's about probability as well. Like, yeah, some of the players we have further back, you could project have higher ceilings, but this kid's floor is pretty high, despite some of his offensive limitations. Because as Jerome mentioned, the kid's motor is ridiculous. He's just this chaos generator. And those need to be graded on a scale too. This is a Kachuk style generator of havoc. This kid can really, really get crazy, and that's important. You need those types of players. It goes back to what we talked about with playoff hockey. You want something like this.
I think I sent it to you like back in October, I guess. Watching him in his first few games, I was like, man, he reminds me a bit of a Russian version of Shane Van Sage. Like
right?
very good motor, very physical. So that was interesting. He's an interesting guy. Probably will go in the first round, I think. I'm curious to see where exactly he goes in the first round. He was in the first round. He just missed by one spot because we didn't move a few players in.
Well, top 32. He's in our. We just missed our top 32. So
Yeah,
for
yeah.
our listeners, our A range ends what, 19, Jerome?
Yeah, we have 19
19.
player.
So yeah, and then 20 to 32 for all of you. That indicates second round. And then once you get past that, you're starting to talk third rounds, right?
Yeah.
So just because every year we get this, people are a bit confused about our top 32 and what it means. So yeah, Morozov we think is strictly a second round player, but expected to go in the first.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the next Russian here, and it's maybe someone I have not heard many people talk about. Matvei Kotkov from Loco. We love players from Loco.
Dark horses. Here we go.
Yeah. So playoff MVP in the I was going to say USHL. Playoff MVP in the MHL with Loco, which is a really good program in Russia. That's where Simashev and Butte played. So Brad, I know you're a big fan, so I'll let you start with Kotkov and give you your few takes about this player. We have him ranked 47.
Yeah, I have him higher than that for sure. I really like this player. He falls into the camp where you look at this draft, admittedly with Lawrence and Morozov. One of the things with both of them that we have to admittedly could burn us, the age. They're super young, right? There's a lot of really young players in this class. Savanto, Hemming, those kids. Some of the other kids at the top of the draft, they're young. So Wyatt Cullen. So it's one of those situations where there might be more growth rate than we think in some areas of their game, and that could be a bit harder to project out. That's the bet here with Kotkov, because right now what he is a 200-foot complementary top 6 winger in the MHL that we think could be a potential top 9 type of player down the road, who does a lot of good things for a team. So he's very good on the forecheck. He's bigger too than we thought initially. One of the issues we had with this kid, we thought he was 5'10", 5'11" out of the gate, and then it turns out he's 6'1". That really helps because, again, he's more of a complement to a line. He has to do some of the dirty work. He has to forecheck well, but there is certainly some real components to his offense, and he is way smarter than Lawrence and Morozov. That's where I think that he can really catch some of these kids long term. He's even, I'd argue, more intelligent than Command. So really, it comes down to the fact that he has a very good shot, mechanically a very gifted shot. Hasn't translated to the degree we thought it would. It's almost like Preston in that regard. But he's a smarter player in terms of how he operates relative to Preston. And for my money, I think he's one of the best players at operating off of the boards in the draft. He's very, very, very good at finding options under high pressure situations. And that's very important for us to weigh because of the nature of where he is. He's in the MHL. Some of those rinks are much bigger ice. Some of the teams, there's a massive disparity in terms of competition. So we have to factor in certain plays that allow us to evaluate that hockey sense to the level that will allow him to project as the top 9 forward in the NHL. And for my money, I thought he did showcase that. He is a very slippery, sophisticated, intelligent 200-foot player, and again, underrated skill set. It's just not a driver, doesn't dictate, and he's nowhere near as consistent as needs to be, which I know, Jerome, that's one of the reasons that you have him fall off a little bit towards the end of the season there, despite the playoff MVP nod. So with him, this is the thing that's interesting about MHL hockey to me, Jerome, is like you look at some of these players that we've missed in the past, and admittedly the industry missed, like Grigory Denisenko. Right? We all thought Grigory Denisenko was going to be at least a middle 6 utility forward with a tremendous amount of secondary offense there, and it didn't happen. And I remember I wanted to go back and figure out why. Like, what is something that we really missed there? One thing that was interesting for me was that he was constantly driving possession and dictating the MHL, and we thought of that as a good thing. Right? The kid has a takeover mentality. He wants to be the guy, and then he translated it internationally, like, oh, he's going to be awesome. And then his toolkit didn't hold. And he wasn't as gifted as we initially thought he was. And then he really needed to find his options. He couldn't find them. Couldn't find his options. Not as smart as we thought he was. Didn't know how to actually play in a structure. I actually kind of like the idea of reverse engineering some of these Russians, where Kotkov, I'm actually completely okay and actually more comfortable seeing only a compliment. Because instead of trying to play by himself, he's already playing with structure. He's already playing in a way that's not junior. The junior tendency is already weeding out. I think that's kind of an important quality when it comes to Russians, because as you know, You talk to NHL staff, you talk to anybody in the NHL. The one thing you always hear is like with Gushkin, for instance, like of course he plays his own way. He's in a Russian system. So I like the fact that Kotkov kind of differentiates himself from that perspective.
Yeah, he does have like already some, and even as a pretty young prospect in this class, like the pro tools are pretty good. He looks like a pro, plays like a pro. I think a few reasons why he dropped a bit, because at some point we were talking like are we going to rank this kid top 32? Because he was we were pretty excited about some of the stuff he was doing. But he didn't take over games as much as we wanted. Consistency was a bit not
the consistency for sure. That was one of the biggest ones for sure.
Yeah. So like he always played like well enough, but like you always wanted to get to that next level, and he didn't do it as much as we were hoping. So, but he's young. The curve is like there's a lot of runway here with this player. So he's intriguing. I don't like we have him 47. We could have put him higher.
I fought for it,
but honestly,
I tried to get him up there.
Like, nobody has him ranked anywhere. So like,
no, nobody. I've never seen him talked about. I've never seen this player mentioned.
He's clearly like a creation of hockeyprospect.com.
Hopefully it's, we'll see.
He does, like, for those who have never watched him, like he does play a bit like Daniela Yurov in terms of like details, in terms of
structure,
net drive. Like he attacks the net like very, very well, very often. So there's some good tools here that could make this guy maybe like a third, fourth line player down the road in the NHL. So I'm actually curious to see. I don't expect him to go super high in the draft, but I'm curious.
I'm betting on the fourth round.
Fourth round?
I'm thinking fourth round, yeah.
Are you betting on the Hurricanes drafting him?
They're always in the mix. There's no question they're in the mix for it, 100%. Yeah, you always the usuals, the Columbus, Washington, Carolina, Tampa Bay. They're all looking for sure.
Well, I'm curious to see how he does next year. That's my like to see
his next year. We'll know. We'll know which way it's going. We'll know
if we're right or not.
We'll know. Yeah.
Okay, next player from the Russian class, and you mentioned his name early on, Brad, but it's Yaroslav Matyev. Kind of similar to Sokolovskii, probably not as high of an upside, and maybe, but as Kotkov, not mentioned anywhere as far as I know. I know Central Scouting has him.
Central
Scouting has him, but like on other lists, I've never seen his name.
Never seen him mentioned.
No. When we watch him, it was he's a pretty easy player to scout. I find like he's 6'5", he skates well, he's physical, he has a big shot from the point. Like is he going to be a top of the lineup type of player? No, but can you put him on a third pairing? And yeah, you definitely can put him on the third pairing. He has the mobility, the footwork. He can pass the puck better than Sokolovskii. He can stretch.
Better shot too. Yeah. He has a better shot and better passing.
He is really physical, not as much as Sokolovskii, but we could show you one hit each roll.
What was his nickname? Give him the nickname, Jérôme. Give the audience. Do you remember?
The Aftermath? Yeah.
The Aftermath is his nickname. And that's because you did not know what was going to happen to the opposing player when he hit them. Oh my God. Some of the hits, if we could show a highlight reel for all of you, some of the hits, you wouldn't believe. It looked like he's trying to turn players into gymnasts. He's flipping them over his head. He's getting them to barrel roll. He is, if he hits you, you are in trouble. You are in real trouble.
So he's 51 on our list. He's our first C-rated player, C+, I guess. Very, I don't want to say safe bet for the NHL, but like defenseman that looks like him, I find NHL teams are all over those defensemen.
All over.
Yeah.
All over.
So we'll see if we're right. And also one thing I will mention is that the team that he plays for, they have existed since 2010, I believe, in the MHL. They have never had a player draft
ever
in the NHL. like they actually have like a decent KHL team because they sign a bunch of like
They signed him. Yeah, that's right.
but like developing prospect, they don't have a lot of those. Like
Almost never. We've ranked 1 or 2, I think, ever.
Yeah,
and very late, like seventh round.
When he gets drafted, because I believe he will be drafted, you will be the first player from that program to get drafted. So that's right. Interesting. So Brad, tell us a few things about Yaroslav Matyev.
Sure. Yeah. Underrated is the main thing for sure. If he was Jerome, where is he on lists if he was in the OHL? Playing like, come on now. 6'5", 225, athletically gifted. One of the differentiating qualities between him and Sokolovskii defensively is Jerome mentioned the motor, the swarming style of Sokolovskii with that wingspan. Matyev doesn't present like that. He's not going to hunt after guys in the same manner. He's going to time things a bit more. And that goes back, I think, to his KHL. So one thing that's very unique about this player, he's a bit older for this class. This class is a young class, but he's one of the older kids. Very interesting. He was in the KHL last year in his -1 season. So I took every pass he ever made and watched them all. I wanted to see if he actually held. And very streamlined, not overly technical, but they held. He did his thing. He held. He held with his minutes. Didn't play a ton, obviously, but he held in that sample. And one thing I noticed with his growth rate, Jerome, which is one of the reasons I'm very bullish on him and have him right. Actually, I have him ahead of Sokolovskii by a bit. This is the main reason why. He actually learned to actually feather pucks a bit. He's starting to learn how to feather pucks over sticks. He's starting to understand how to stretch playmaking at a better rate, and he's a bit crafty. He's not ever panicked either. Just like so, there's quite a bit of poise. He's not a player who rushes his options. So now he is in Mirsky, which means that he's going up against some quality competition at times where he's not really having to deal with heavy pressure forechecks. And, if we watch him in the OHL, I feel we get a much better understanding of exactly where he is with his retrieval and exit rates. But they're better than you would think. Let's put it that way. The other factor is, and we talked about it a bit, this player does have a heavy shot. He is a much, much more dangerous shooter than Sokolovskii at this stage, but doesn't project, I would say, to actually generate as much offense in the future because Sokolovskii uses his skating base and mobility more often. This player is an insulator, but as Jerome mentioned, every team looks for this. A 6'5", 230-pound mean kid who, the other thing I forgot to mention, the defense, I'd argue the best defender in the draft at boxing out opposing players. Yeah, he is unbelievable net front. You are not getting redirect options against him. That is incredibly valuable. Like how many goals and it's based off redirects and tips and broken plays being generated because a shot from the point hit an ankle. He does not allow any of that to happen. You are not dealing with. He's like Leon Bixell in that front. You're not going to be able to handle this player. He's a monster. So for our money, super underrated, and I would be very surprised in a draft where the depth just falls right off that cliff. How in the world does he not get drafted? He's going to get drafted for sure.
Yeah, and also like he plays in the weaker division, weaker conference. Yeah. What I notice is when he plays against those bad teams, he's a bit more passive. When he plays against those good teams, then
good point.
Like
he elevates.
He brings
You're
it
right.
big time.
That's a good point. That's great.
So I'm curious to see where is he going to play next year? Like he could play in the KHL next season. Like I don't
physically he's ready.
Yeah, so I don't see the need. I don't see the need to play again in the MHL with that team. He needs to play like a real team. So maybe the KHL could be an option for him, or maybe like he comes over and plays in the OHL. Maybe London drafts him and they have Sokolovskii and Matyev.
Man. I'd pay to watch it. It'd be like U20s when what was the line? Dmitry Voronkov, and who was the Ottawa prospect who was fizzled out? I love him though. The monster. Sokolov. Yeah, Sokolov. Sokolov and Voronkov on a line together is one of my favorite things I've ever seen at the U20s. That would be like the equivalent of that on the back end. So yeah, I would pay to see that.
Yeah. So we'll see with him, and then we'll move on to our next Russian, Alan Shaikhlislamov from Tolpar. You mentioned some of the young birthday that we have in this class. That's another one, a September one.
Yeah.
He missed quite a few. I think he missed like 3 months this season. Like I know he came back late December, and then we watched him a lot in the second half of the season. Probably didn't. Not that he did not live up to the hype, but we were expecting a bit more out of him, I think, in the second half of the season. but he's still a very interesting player. Like, look, he scored 20 goals at 16 in the MHL. That's not nothing.
Not common. Yeah.
He can skate. He has some really good skill. I think we do question a bit the hockey sense sometime. Not always the best decision from him. Sometimes even his shot will take too many shots from bad angles. So that's one thing. But he's super young too, right? So maybe we have him a bit too low here, but we'll see. He's definitely if you look at NHL projection, that's to me looks like he could be a top 9 forward if everything works out for him. Like maybe it doesn't work out and he's just a KHL guy and we never talk about him ever again. So I would say he's a bit of a boom bust type prospect, but he's very interesting because of his birthday, which is like early September, and the skill set. Like he can skate, he's got hands, he can shoot the puck. As of now, from what we saw, we were a bit questioning the hockey sense, and we wonder, like, is this going to stop him from reaching his full potential? So that's where we stand a bit with him. Brad, you want to continue on Shaikhlislamov?
Yeah, we got a nickname for him is the Shake Shack because it's so hard to pronounce the last name, but I'll try. Shaikhlislamov, he is for sure one of the wild cards of this class because if things go right, it's like, oh man, we definitely have him way too low. Yeah. But then you watch him like, okay, so much has to get modified here in terms of his instincts for the game and how he operates offensively. So the first thing I'll say is that one of the reasons we prefer Kotkov to him is that Kotkov is a much more structured and detail-oriented player that looks like he plays a pro game already. Shake Shack is in his total infancy of understanding how to operate, but the handling rates are way higher than you'd expect. Like I remember I did a direct head-to-head comparison between Lagerberg, Hoen, Alessandro Diorio, Adam Novotny, Mathis Preston, a whole lot of these kids just see their neutral entry rates, and I was very surprised how high he ended up on that list when all things were said and done. He's a pretty darn impressive puck handler. 6'1", 200 pounds, good frame. One of the areas I found he improved as the season progressed was within his forechecking ability and willingness to actually engage physically, and that's very important for him. If he can develop an ancillary skill set, he's not going to have to score as much. And that was one of the big detractors for us. Is like, as Jerome mentioned, some of the plays that he attempts to make when he's skating down a wing are absolutely bizarre. Like this player will put himself basically out of the play without understanding that there was other options available. But then he'll make plays that are unbelievably sophisticated that like Adam Novotny can't make, that some of these other overrated kids can't make. And so it's like, man, if he could do this more often and you get him coached correctly, where it's like, hey, listen, when you're going down a wing, we want you to go back to the inside. Don't just skate yourself into a dead area of the ice. You really might find something here. There's a whole lot here. And he is extremely young, as Jerome mentioned. So incredibly raw, but in a draft, again, where the depth is non-existent, essentially, this is a really interesting player. Like this is an actual talented player with a real frame, a good skating base, with real goal scoring upside, with good shooting mechanics, good offense. Like there's just a tremendous amount of potential for a top 9 position. But again, everything has to go right here. He's in his total infancy as a player.
Okay, let's move on to the next Russian, Alexander Sapozhnikov, and who's a 6'6" defenseman, second year eligible. So he's like, I mean, his story is kind of crazy because last year, his draft year, he was not playing in the MHL. He was playing in the NMHL, which is like the second junior league, and he was like minus. I don't have the stats in front of me, but it was something crazy, like minus 47,
minus 40 something. I remember.
Yeah. Like he played on the worst team in the league, or one of the worst team in the league. Like, so you're like, okay, interesting. And then this year he starts the year in the KHL. Like, what is going on?
Like we always talk about BCHL to college jump, NMHL to KHL. That is a jump. That's the biggest jump you can make.
So it's obviously not a good team, and no clue why he was there. He didn't play a ton, right? So at some point he went back to the MHL, and so we start really watching him at that point in the MHL, and then we were really intrigued by this. He's 6'6". He moves well. He has a big shot from the point. He can play on the power play with his shot, but also his puck distribution skills is not bad. One issue we had was, well, he's 6'6", but he's the opposite of a Matyev or Sokolovskii. He's not physical like whatsoever. He's also a bit of a mystery because he went from that MHL team, which was one of the worst teams in the MHL, went to SKA, which is like the big program.
team,
and then played 3 games, played really well. I think one game he had 3 points that were like, I remember texting you. I'm like, I'm excited. Can't wait to see him going. And then that was it. He didn't never play again.
He's banished on us. Like, you can't be serious.
We don't know what happened. He stopped playing. So I called him the mystery of the draft. So we did rank him 64, but his story is kind of nuts, honestly.
It's crazy. Yeah. And MHL to the KHL, and then going from Soki to SKA, and it's crazy, absolutely crazy. Yeah. Very, very unique situation. Very hard for us to scout, honestly, because of it.
So go ahead, Brad. Maybe give your thoughts on him, because he's interesting, but he's a big mystery.
Yeah. So I mean, as you mentioned, 6'6", 220 pounds. Well, maybe not 220. He's probably 210. He's probably he's leaner.
209.
209. Oh, there you go. 6'6", 210. So like tons of runway here in terms of, very similar to Sherbakov in that sense. Like he's just getting the party started. Tons of runway. Skates relatively well though. Not as good as Matyev or Sokolovskii, especially being able to get himself off the center line. He ain't there yet, but it's. I would argue it's a plus trait is his skating, not a weakness.
Well, for a 6'6" guy, for sure.
6'6" kid, for sure. The other factor that you probably will, everyone listening to this will get excited about, I would argue more secondary offense than Sokolovskii and Matyev. This is the kid that
he can put a power play. Yeah.
He can actually run a power play already. His shot is very hard. And unlike Sokolovskii, who has trouble getting it through, and unlike Matyev, who just doesn't have a ton of offensive creativity, this kid can blend both. So there is more secondary offense, and he's 6'6", and now he's playing in Scott's system. I mean, he's getting drafted. That's a wrap. Like that's
he played 3 games.
3 games, but he's there. So what's interesting about that, Jérôme, is usually when a player is playing in like a team like Soki, when they get picked up by a top end team, usually they get drafted, because it really signifies that there's something there. Because if the scouts at SKA are saying they're pounding the table, like bring this kid in, that's going to signify to NHL teams, hey, we got something here. We got a really deep dive on this kid. But again, as Jérôme mentioned, we're talking about an unknown quantity. We just didn't get it. Now, I will say this, though. He's unknown, but we have seen some plays that really made us bullish initially on him. One is that he can actually stretch length of the ice, and he could do it through traffic. He's not bad under pressure. He's a bit mixed. Like Matyev, he could be a bit mixed, but it's not bad. And if you can get this kid to learn to take advantage of his frame and learn to leverage his mechanics more efficiently, like he'll be an adequate defenseman. And again, there's enough secondary offense and puck movement where he's certainly a very interesting prospect. Like for sure, again, when the draft dies, like he's got to go. He's got to get drafted.
Yeah. Okay, we got 3 more Russians before we finish with the Russian class. Again, we didn't touch on Pugachev, Sherbakov. We're not going to touch on the goalies because you guys need to watch the goalie video. So we got 3 more. Let's start with let's start with my favorite player, Brad. Leonid Levchenko. I feel like I'm on my own island on this.
Absolutely, yeah. Nobody knows me. I've never seen him talked about for 3 years, for 2 years.
For 2 years, we ranked him last year. We have ranked him again this year. I have said publicly, well, not publicly, privately, this kid. Give me a 7th round pick. I'm drafting this kid in the 7th round. And do I think he's going to play in the NHL? I don't know, but he's much better than a bunch of 7th round pick that I've seen. Getting
last couple of years.
Last couple of years. So he plays in Omsk. He played mostly in the MHL this year, a few games in the VHL. Super good pace, super good skater, plays the right way, plays hard. His skating is his best asset with his pace and compete. I think he could maybe end up being a fourth line player. Does he have the talent? Is what missing a bit here. Like his shooting ability is not really there. He creates a lot of chance, but he can't finish. One thing that has bothered me is that he really improved his production this year. Last year, it was, pretty much under 0.5 point per game. This year, he's over a point per game. He plays in almost.
Which we projected. We said we thought he'd break out. It was one of the reasons we still refused to put him off our list. We're gonna keep him.
His production last year was like half a point per game, but he was playing like 10, 11 minutes per game. So we're like, man, if he plays like this with 17, 18, 19 minutes a game, that's a point per game player.
Mm-hmm.
He's a point per game player.
What happened?
One thing I've noticed, though, is a lot of this, often his production is against weaker team. So that's worries me a bit here. Against better team, his production is a bit lower. He definitely needs a shooting coach. He needs to improve his shot. But we think maybe the playmaking is good enough that's going to give him, a chance to become a fourth line player. But he plays, I can see him be a good penalty killer with. He's a smart hockey player. He hustles hard. So I could see him become a good penalty killer. Just with his speed alone, he can make things happen. But yeah. So he's gonna need a team to really trust him and put work with him and try to improve some of his skill, like his hands, his shot. That's the stuff he needs to learn. We'll see. I like this player, but do I think he's going to get drafted? I don't think so. I don't think so. I would need my home draft pick to draft him in the 7th round. So
an extra seventh to the prep.
Yeah, the Jérôme Bérubé hockey team, and I will take him in the 7th round. But yeah, Brad, I know you watch him a bit too, and I sent you so many clips this year of this player. He's very entertaining.
That's what we do in our spare time, folks. Tell us we're not scouts, right?
Yeah. His complete level is a 9. His complete level is a 9, and he's fun to watch. There's some I think I wrote in the book, there's a game against AFTO in January. That's the game I sent Brad 20 clips of
He was unbelievable. If he played like that more often, we wouldn't have to worry about him getting drafted. He was unbelievable there. So Jerome's point, I'm going to go back to the playoffs this year, where you look at the forechecking of what we saw in the final with Vegas and Carolina. This is where that player, you could put him on a fourth line. You get exactly what you're looking for. He can fly. He's a phenomenal skater, and he's not big, but he plays massive. He plays like he's 6'6". So just a chaos generator. I like to call him a pressure cooker because he's just constantly in motion, constantly evaluating skating trajectories of opposing players and putting himself in above average positions most of the time to be able to handle and create pressure. To Jerome's point, it's just can he have the handling and playmaking rates that would just theoretically hold for a fourth line role? That's the question, and that's why he's probably been overlooked up to this point. But it's super fun to watch. Super fun to watch. There's always some MHL Russian players you're probably won't end up talking about him, but that's one where it was just he's right on the fringe, so we felt we should include him.
He's too fun to watch. I really I watch him way too many times for a guy that is in the 7th round. I should have watched maybe other prospect more than him, but yeah, honestly, I think if I'm a CHL team, I'm trying to bring him over because I think he could really do well in the CHL, and that could help him get drafted next year.
Get noticed, yeah. Sure.
Get more eyes on him. So next guy, Viktor Fyodorov from from Russia. That's a guy that's been hyped a lot since he was like 14, 15.
Yeah.
Like when Fyodorov is draft eligible, you guys will see. And then watch him this year. We actually like the way he plays. Like his KHL viewings were like solid.
The best viewings he had were in the KHL.
Yeah,
That's
as Brad mentioned, that's the problem. His viewing in the VHL or MHL were not so good, right? So I feel like he has plateau as a prospect. Like he has not really improved in the last. Well, I mean, this season compared to last season, I don't think the improvement is really noticeable. Could he turn it around and become like a fourth line energy guy? Yeah, that could have happened. He does have like he plays the right way. Like he's physical. He's a bit of a a bulldog on the ice, mostly in the KHL, not as much at the MHL level, but he can be a bit of a pest on the ice. So there's some value there, but I just didn't think offensively his game progressed. And that's why he's a bit lower on the list. I'm like, if you asked me in October, I would have not predict that, but that's why we watched like 1,000 of hockey games during the year. We want to see who progressed, who doesn't progress, and I don't think Fyodorov really progressed, and that's surprising based on how well he played in the KHL in some of those games.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, I mean, he's a 5'10" forward. He's not huge. He's a good skater, but not a dynamic skater. He's not like Levchenko skating base wise, but he is a gifted playmaker. He sees the ice well. He can incorporate his teammates. He's above average at hockey intelligence. He helped He's very good on the power play for Chaika. It's just when you scale him up, it's like, okay, we think he's a depth energy winger, but he's 5'10", and it's like, how many depth energy wingers are 5'10" in the league? Again, this goes back to Levchenko as well. It's just very rare for this type of player to ever hold in the NHL, especially when you factor in the Russian factor, like the communication barriers, the environmental barriers. Like there's more hurdles to be had there when you're trying to project them out. Do you know who Levchenko and this kid reminds me of a little bit, Jerome, is who's Seattle's second round pick in 2024 from Mississauga that we had ranked slightly aggressively? Do you remember it was from the OHL? Let
me look at it.
I can't remember. There's too many names, everybody. There's so many players we have to go through each year. I always forget. He had a big goal in preseason, actually. I think this past year, he had a nice goal in preseason. I think it was against Dustin Wolf. I think I remember watching it, actually.
Are you talking about Nathan Villeneuve?
That's it.
Yeah,
that's it. Nathan Villeneuve falls in this category too, and that's where there's some overlap. Like they'll play bigger than their size. They bring secondary scoring elements. They're not big, but they have high motors, high work rate, a high capacity to compete. And usually the differentiating quality, the separating quality is just how crazy the kid is. The kid is like willing to go all in and just be a battering ram and take the pain, take the injuries, and keep going. That's one of the differentiating qualities. So that's kind of how we see Fyodorov. He's not as talented as I think people think he is. That's one of the separators. I was wrong because, he's not. Was he point per game in the MHL or slightly under? It's pretty sure slightly.
I'm pretty sure he was under.
Right, so slightly under the MHL, and that's a team that there was a good team. There are some really impressive players on that team. And I know Pikachev was under that mark as well, but Pikachev is a 6'3" monster, so it's a very different evaluation from that perspective. So, yeah, I think we would have had him higher if the scoring rates were vastly better. Like if he could really shoot a puck like he could pass a puck, it would really change his trajectory. But just not enough dynamism relative to his size.
He had 10 points, 3 goals in 18 games in the MHL, and then in the playoff he had 6 goals, 10 points in 17 games. So
yeah, see, that's not what you want.
Yeah,
no,
that's why I think he has plateaued a bit as a prospect. Okay, last Russian, Brad.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna go with Lavr Gashilov from AFTO. We did not rank him, but we think he might go. I don't know, maybe the top 5 round in the draft. He produced quite well in the MHL, but he's an older prospect, one of the oldest, first year draft eligible. I watched him a lot at the start of the year because he was producing at like pretty much a 2 point per game rate at some point, and I was not really impressed. So he's producing a lot on the power play. The playmaking was looking good, but I really didn't like the pace. The effort level was average at best. Um, he was a bit soft, he was a bit vanilla at time too. Just all ingredients that makes me hate a hockey player. So it didn't really, and also I didn't think he, as an older guy, I was expecting, like, obviously the production was there, but when you actually watch him play, it felt like the production didn't really match with what I was seeing on the ice. So just mentioned Fyodorov. We think Fyodorov didn't improve this year. Same thing with this kid. As an older prospect, I think we were expecting more from him, and we just think he has plateau. And I just feel like this is. I might be wrong. Obviously, maybe I should have watched him more in the second half of the season. But I just find that he is going to be just a KHLer, and a decent one. But I just don't see the NHL upside with that player. Brad.
Yeah, to just a point, a little bit of Shilov overlap for us, where it's like the pace, the skating, the attention to detail off the puck, the unwillingness to engage properly. Like he's just not a competitive player. He's a soft player. He doesn't skate well. The pace isn't there. And when you project him for North American hockey on smaller ice, like there are just most aspects of his game are going to break down, minus some of the offensive ability. That does translate. He is a gifted playmaker. He is smart. He's intelligent. He reads the ice well. He's very good at extending his operating windows with his handling ability. He can freeze defense with his hesitation feints, being able to play both on his backhand and forehand at the same rate, which as a playmaker is incredibly important, especially for him because he can't drive. So if you really needs the backhand playmaking to hold, and he does have that. So there is talent there, and there is offensive instincts there, and the way he operates offensively, very good sense of timing, understanding how to manipulate opposing defenses with his mind and his hands. But when you think about him in the playoffs, oh my goodness, is he ever getting drowned out? That's really what it comes down to for us. That's why he's off our list.
Okay, well, that's going to be a wrap up for the first topic. But maybe we should have done different podcasts. So that's a wrap up for the Russian class. Our second topic will be some underrated, prospect that we like that we want to, mention. Just before we get going, I forgot in the intro, so I just want to remember people. Our draft book is out. Check our website, hockeyprospect.com, to get your copy. I want to thank everyone who has been saying good things about our rankings, saying good things about the book. They love the details of it, and our the way we see things as scouts. So we appreciate it because we put a lot of effort, not just for the book but all year long in scouting. So we appreciate it. So yeah, you can get your copy at hockeyprospect.com. And let's move on, Brad. Underrated prospect, dark horse, however you want to say it. Let's start with let me see here. Who could we start with? We're going to start with guys in our first round that we like and we feel they're a bit underrated. So yeah, Brad, you can start with your first player, Simas Ignatavicius from Genève Servette in the NLA in Switzerland. So a guy that we have ranked 25. So tell our viewers a bit about Ignatavicius and why is he in our top 32, and why we think he's very much likely going to be a really good tour line player in the NHL.
Yeah, so All-time name, first of all, Ignatavicius. I love that name. I'm not going to lie. That really rolls off the tongue. It's way better than Brad Allen. So this is a very unique story. Like, he grew up in the States. He was born in Michigan, I believe, and then he played youth.
That is a basketball player.
Dad's a basketball player. Ends up going back to Switzerland, and I mean, it's very hard for an 18-year-old kid to hold in the National League up in top league in
That's
Switzerland.
a tough league.
That is a good league. Like, that's an underrated league. I'll be honest, I see some scout quotes in our book, and like NHL scouts are talking about like the SHL is a bad league. I'm like, oh, you don't watch enough leagues. If you think the SHL is a bad league, wait until you see the other European leagues if you think the SHL is below average. So yeah, the National League is pretty solid. And this is a player that's a scouts player. So what I mean by that is he's basically the inverse of Mathis Preston. He is not a flash and dash rush winger with a tremendous shot, and he's not going to end up on the highlight reel very often. But he's an actual hockey player. He has tremendous attention to detail. He's one of the smartest players in the draft. He's very good at managing how to stay above the puck, how to help supplement as a third defenseman at times, even as a winger. Very good at supporting his center. Very good at understanding his spatial awareness and recognizing how to link himself relative to where his teammates are present on the ice. He knows how to positionally switch on a dime. He has all those ingredients in space. We talked about how Tyler Lawrence probably not going to be top of the lineup penalty kill specialist, even though he tries very hard defensively. This kid is going to shut down opposing teams. This will be a matchup winger. Now, the only reminds me of a little bit, Jerome, we never actually mentioned this comp, but now that we're talking, there is some Lenny Haminoho overlap here, where you get this projectable pro-style player who's not showing a ton of offense in Haminoho's case in Liga, in this case in the National League, but there's so much attention to detail, understand how to play the right way. There's just a sixth sense to understanding hockey. Now, that said, in our book, there's a couple of NHL scouts in there discussing how he's nothing more than a heavy shot. I honestly see the player completely the opposite. His shooting mechanics are very sporadic. He has no wheelhouse whatsoever. He does not project to be able to be anything yet except net front on the man advantage. But he has very good hands, which he didn't get to always showcase because this is not a player who forces plays. This is a player who's very intelligent. He will incorporate his teammates often and streamline his game so he could get minutes. Right? That's one of the differentiating qualities of having to scout a player that's playing up in professional men's hockey in Europe relative to junior players. He's not given the opportunity as much to show what he has offensively. And so one of my rules, I always talk to Jerome about this, is like, when we see a player who's kind of looking bland a bit in a top Euro league, you can bet your house that there's probably a bit more under the hood offensively than you give them credit for. And time again, Jerome, when we see a Euro player who's 17 come over to the CHL, usually they surprise us in some ways with their flash. And that's what I think will happen here. That's one of the reasons we have him still in our top 32. His handling ability, his skating ability, and his playmaking ability are all well above average. And I would actually argue that his hands are actually very good to exceptional in some instances. We've some very interesting multi-touch, multi-directional handling plays that completely fool the opposing team and give him more leeway and more space and more opportunity to dissect the opposing defense and find his teammates. The other factor that's very interesting about this player is, yes, he can't shoot a puck very well, but incredibly gifted with his hand-eye coordination. So he's very good at planting himself, getting to those redirect options, and incredible at recognizing trajectory of pucks that are coming off the walls or off of pads. That means he can get back out in front of rebounds. He can create that secondary offense through that. So not going to be the flashiest player you've ever seen, but he has all the substance in the world that a player like Mathis Preston that we think is overrated doesn't have. And so that's where he makes up lost ground. And in a draft where, again, it gets dangerous, it fizzles out quicker. There's a lot of dangerous players. One of the quotes didn't make the book, but I'll say it here, is like, this draft, if you look at it like a Cambodian minefield, like, there's mines everywhere. And you got to walk over carefully. You're looking for those mines that are inert. He's that. You don't have to worry about walking over. He's not going to blow you up. He's not going to he's very likely to play. And that's really what separates him.
Yeah, I mean, as in this scouting meetings, we might ask a scout, like, what do you think? Like, what do you think he is at the NHL level? Oh, he's a third line player. And then I think it's really important to ask, like, how confident are you that he's going to be a
Right.
third line
It's
player?
all about the probability. You're not
Yeah.
wrong.
And like, I remember talking with Brad about this, and Brad is like, I'm damn convinced he's a third line player.
Very convinced. I would
Yeah.
be very, very surprised. It was like a Minaho for me. Very similar. I was like, okay, Minaho might not end up in the top 6. I'll be damned if he doesn't play. He's going to play. And that's the same feeling I have towards this player, for sure.
All right, let's move on to the second player, Brooks Rogowski, Brad, from Oshawa of the OHL, an American kid playing in the CHL. Monster, 6'7", 235 pounds.
Unbelievable.
And there's so much runway too. Like,
So much.
so very interesting. Playing Oshawa, God, like Oshawa was not good at all this year. So he didn't have much help around him, and I'll be honest, like some games he didn't really brought it. Like he was a bit passive, a bit soft. But he has a very unique toolkit with his size. He's actually not a bad skater for that size at that age. I remember watching him at the Olinka. I was like, who's this kid? And his skating looks pretty interesting to me. And at that age and that size, he put me on notice just the way he was moving on the ice. Again, not much help this year with Oshawa. But I think Brad, you have mentioned this to me. Is like those 6'6", 6'7" guy. You almost have to treat them like they're in their -1 draft year. There's so much run. There's so much runway. He might not be perfect right now, but if Michael McCarron is like a full-time NHLer,
right,
just got a huge contract, I have
how could Rogowski not pull that, right?
Yeah. I have unless he just doesn't want to be a hockey player, which I don't think is the case. He's more talented than McCarron. Definitely skates better than McCarron.
Way better.
Yeah. Way better.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We have him. He's 26 on our list, and to me, he's a really interesting guy to follow. He's going back to Oshawa next year, and then I think he's off to Michigan State after. So it's going to take some time with that player, but man, he might, when he's 23, 24, 25, he might be a really like a nice depth piece for NHL team on like their third line, like either at center or on the wing. He might be very very interesting.
Absolutely. To your point, like one thing I love about, like, he seems like an intelligent kid off the ice too, like good demeanor, intelligent kid off the ice. One thing I really like is he's not trying to accelerate his development. Like Dean Letourneau there, that got close, right? Like that was one heck of a poor season in his first year in college, and then unbelievable growth rate this past season. And what's interesting, I bring up Dean Letourneau. I think this kid's ahead of Dean Letourneau in a lot of ways in the same age. A lot of ways. Like doesn't have probably the raw offensive dynamism that Letourneau had presented, but this kid, like to your point, like we're talking a 6'7", 230-pound matchup center who can eat ice and who can do a tremendous amount of good things when he's playing up to his ability. But again, it's like you said, you got to treat it like the -1 because the consistency rates are just never there with these players. Look at Elmer Soderblom in his J20 season, Jerome. What do you have, 0.4 points per game for London? Right? One of my faves. I love Soderblom. This kid's smarter than Soderblom. This kid's ahead of Soderblom in some ways. It's one of the reasons I'm so bullish on him. Again, Dean Letourneau, same thing. I know a lot of NHL scouts, the main thing, they'd be like, Brad, he doesn't play big. He doesn't play big enough. A couple of things I would say to counteract that. One is Elmer Soderblom didn't play with any physicality at all until he got to the AHL. Then he developed it. Dean Letourneau did not play with enough physicality in any capacity in his first year in college. It's still under what you typically want to see, but it's gotten better. It has improved. They're not all built like Dmitry Voronkov out of the gate, and Tage Thompson, the offense was there from the power play on, and that's not the case here. So it's a bit different. But the big thing here with this kid is when you talk about his skating, he is phenomenal getting off his center line for his age at this stage. It's just unbelievable. That's important for him because when you're talking about center, think about how he has to reload, how he has to constantly use his edge work and try to put himself in position to support his defenseman. He can do that at a very unnatural level. The other factor is I know that he doesn't hit or engage as much as people want. I've seen some tremendous attempts at shot blocking from him where he'll get down, lower center of gravity despite being huge, put himself in harm's way. I've seen him make sure that he can take away passing lanes. He's very good at clogging passing lanes as a result of his length, his wingspan, his willingness to get low to the ice. And again, it goes back to that center line because he can go low, but then he can squat back out of his position and actually turn punch and turn a corner and get back up to speed and be able to come an option again. So I think there's like at least a defensive specialist base to mold, but then the offense is also actually pretty interesting. This is a smart hockey player. He can make high danger weak side lateral option setups. He can actually be useful on a power play as a net front option. And he's very good around the goal line at setting up low to high danger passing plays. So like there is like a very interesting base. And even towards the end of the season, I remember watching him mechanically 2-on-1 off a rush. He's showing like pretty decent mechanics off the rush for a shot, like staying in motion while shooting, not telegraphing his intentions. Like the loading phase for his size in a shot is ridiculously good at this stage. And this is just, again, this kid's just getting the party started. So I'm very, very intrigued by this kid. Like his mental makeup is there, the maturity's there, and he is a monster and just an awesome athlete. He's an awesome athlete. So lots of potential here. And if he hits, how many of these are in the NHL? How many of these are there? Like two or three? It's just he's just such a unicorn of a player.
Okay, next player. We're going to talk about Jonas Lagerberg Hoen, who has not played hockey since October. So he hurt his knee, but that was a very interesting player to watch when he played before the injury and also last year. If you Google his stats line, you guys will laugh at his stats line last year where he had something like 28 goals and 3 assists.
Cy Young.
Yeah, Cy Young. It was a bit better this year, a bit more assists this year than last year. Obviously, he got hurt, but we have him ranked 30. I do wonder if he played a full year, like where would he be in our ranking? He's a legit top 5 shooter in the draft, I would say. Like he knows how to score goals as, again, goal scoring potential, it's high. The way he scores goals, and the way he shoots the puck is very Justin Carbonneau like to me. Watching him at the start of the year, I'm like, wow, it's like I'm watching the Swedish version of Justin Carbonneau. But I would say he's probably a little bit smarter than Carbonneau. It's not going to be his best asset, his hockey sense, but we feel like it's good enough to hold.
Good enough.
Yeah.
In terms of gaining ice, it's for sure ahead of Carbonneau. That's one of the defining reasons I would say. Yeah.
So I mean, we're talking about how where we will rank him, and we decided to rank him 30. And we're like, well, look at the late 20s. It's a bunch of depth player, basically. There's a lot of third line potential, fourth line potential. So we decided to go with a guy with a huge upside. Obviously, the injury did not look good when we saw it. It was like, oh, he's in trouble. He's in trouble with that injury, and obviously he never came back. So there's some risk here with that. But we're betting on the upside here. Upside of being able to score a lot of goals. So it's going to be interesting to see next year where his game is at after pretty much a full year without playing hockey. He's going to start playing again, officially in September-ish. Sometimes they do start late August. So it's going to be interesting to see where his game is at. But, we heard talk that he might actually go in the first round, or if not, early second. So, the NHL team, they know.
Yeah. I was surprised, honestly. I was like, oh, other teams, honed in on him like, well, it's hard to pun, honed in on him like we did. But yeah, this is I know for some of you listen, like, how can you put him ahead of players that play the whole year who have like just a better data sets like Morozov and like he's right there. He's ahead of Novotny, I think, by a spot on our list, and Lawrence. And like the simple reality is like what Novotny does is basically what Hoen will do, except we just think it will be better. Like Novotny is a better skater technically, but Hoen's bigger and Hoen's a better shooter than Novotny. Yeah. And that's their bread and butter. So you're drafting them because they're capable of going hard, being assertive, and giving you some secondary offense, giving you 20 plus goals. We think Hoen is much more specialized with that specific element of his game, which is why he's above Lawrence and Novotny and Morozov. And not the smartest player by any stretch of imagination. He can have tunnel vision. Absolutely, you can have tunnel vision. But
I mean, Novotny is not that smart either. So
that's exactly it. Neither is Morozov or Lawrence or Novotny. None of them are very intelligent either. So we're like, okay, let's go with the specialized shooter. And then you factor in the growth rate potential. We think it's higher. Novotny is one of the oldest players in the draft, right? So that you have to factor that in. Morozov, he's young as they come, but he's also like the best muscle quality I've ever seen since like Eric Lindros. So let's calm down. Like he's more filled out than most of these other kids. The other factor that really matters for this player is the assertiveness. This player is extremely assertive, usually snipers that translate to ones that don't. The defining characteristic, one of the defining traits is the assertive nature of the player. This kid does not let up. He's all in. He wants to be the player, wants to dictate. He wants to just constantly try to weaponize his shot in high danger areas. And we emphasize that point. This player will do anything to attack the high danger areas, and then he has the mechanics to go with that. So that's one of the separating qualities of his game for sure.
Okay, let's talk about Ryder Cali from the OHL, who we have 35. We were trying hard to keep him in the top 32, and then he just
was bound at the table.
Yeah, so there's a lot of competition like at the end with like the late from like.
It was the hardest point in the draft. I thought 30 to 40 the entire season was the hardest point in this draft. I really did. Yeah, right up to the end.
It was tough to rank, and a lot of guys are similar like projection. So yeah, Ryder Cali. We really like the motor. This kid brings it. He's big. I was surprised, like he was listed at 6'1", 219. Like he's like massive.
He's a big boy.
Yeah,
heavier than I thought he'd be.
Yeah. So yeah, we like the motor. He brings it. His ends. That was like, I remember you mentioned to me like, Jérôme, you need to watch this kid because maybe the upside is not like crazy high, but his ends, they're very slick. So that's very interesting combo where you have like the compete that he has, and then you add this like really soft ends, like he can stick handle in the phone booth. So he's really interesting, like either going to be a center or winger at the next level, more like third, fourth line player. Projection wise, yeah, we like this kid. Didn't play in the OHL last year, so that was his first season in the OHL. So I think he's off to Providence College, maybe, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm pretty sure he's going the NCAA route next season. So yeah, we like this player. He's going to make a really solid second round pick, I think, and there's some runway with this kid. He's very, the potential to get better is there for him. So, Brad.
Yeah, he thinks the game like a center. The question is if the skating can hold so that he can remain a center. It's a bit cumbersome, not the most nimble, not the most dexterous skater you'll ever see. So he might be in a lot of trouble. We talk about attack skating all day. Well, that's where he might be in a lot of trouble when he's trying to stay above the puck and in front of the opposing team. If they can skate circles around him, then he's going to have to be put on the wing, but we think it might hold. That was kind of an element of trying to figure out exactly what we thought he could project with the skating. But the natural instincts are of a center. Incredibly good at supporting his own teammates, willing to play up to his size, doesn't back down an inch. Very good at understanding mechanical leverages when it comes to board battling. If he gets hit, he will not only ramp up his game, but go right after the opposing players. And that's what you want to see. Like, he's got that secondary nature to him, or, natural fighters. If you hit somebody who's a natural fighter, just straight up automated, just going to hit you back, or some other people are going to either shell up or like question what's going on. He's not that. He's a natural fighter, which is very important for him, because what Jérôme mentioned, the ultimate translation of this kid is that he does have the silky mittens, and that means that he can carve through opposing teams and find options. He is a primary playmaker, a secondary shooter at this stage. The playmaking is impressive. He can find weak side options through multi-coverage situations. He can find backdoor setups. He can play an untelegraphed style of offensive game as well. But he can also, almost like Hemming a little bit, Jérôme, a little bit like Hemming in the sense that he can play a power game, but he can beat you with his brain. And that's a very important attribute for his translation. So doesn't hurt too. We talked all day about how young some of this class is. One of the youngest centers in the draft. That is very useful stuff. He is much more intelligent than Lawrence, much more intelligent than Novotny, more intelligent than Hoen. So there is some real runway here if the skating can get up to another level, and then he just starts taking over games more often in the offensive zone.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to Ethan Mackenzie from Edmonton of the WHL. Third year eligible.
Right.
Like undrafted in 224, undrafted in 225. I think team that did not pick him last year or regretting this.
Definitely regretting not getting the 7th on him for sure.
Yeah.
That'll be a great pick.
So he was really good this year as a third year eligible. Made Team Canada at the World Junior. Not the best showing by him over there, but who did like that decoy?
No one.
Everyone was not good. So we didn't, punish him too much for his, his play with Team Canada. But he was one of the top defensemen in the WHL. He can really skate. He's tenacious. He's got a really good shot from the point. He's off to North Dakota. Watching him, we're talking during the year, Brad, and we're like this kid looks like a really solid third pairing defenseman in the NHL who can give you secondary scoring, maybe PP2. He's tenacious, like he's tough to play against, even though he's not huge, like he's about 6 feet, 6'1", but that's good enough. But he plays hard. He can really skate. He's a third year eligible. There's a few other guys that we're going to talk about later that are also third year eligible, second year eligible. I really find that those players that are in their second or third draft, they're becoming a bit of the hidden gem of the draft. A lot of teams are starting to, I don't want to say hit gold, but they're starting to find some guys that.
Hey, wait, listen, we get things wrong, but that was one thing I remember we talked about years ago. And like, we should target these players. Like they're gonna matter more than people think, because it's just more data. It's easier to project out. It's happening.
Some guys just develop later. It's not because you're at this level at 17 that you cannot, move, raise your game to another level, and then you look like an actual NHL prospect. So. He was passed over in 2 straight drafts, didn't quit, work on his game, got better, and then this year he's definitely going to get picked in the second or third round, I would say. We have him 37, so we think he's like either like a late second or early third round pick. So we have a lot of time for him. Brad?
Yeah, so he's basically the Riker Evans of this class in the sense that triple overager, wasn't on the map type of thing, and then had a tremendous season. Works differently than Riker Evans, though. Riker Evans is more efficient, cleaner hockey player, but I would say Mackenzie's more tenacious. Both project to be power play 2 quarterbacks. That's what Evans can do for Seattle. That's what Mackenzie projects to do. The skating's there. just like Evans. Evans had good skating. Mackenzie is also a very gifted skater. I love the combination of skill and tenacity and want. The kid just wants to make plays all the time, sometimes to a fault. Sometimes he can push past his skill threshold or push past his intelligence threshold, put himself in bad spots. So he's going to have to learn to clean that up and to become a true pro. But every team wants this type of player. He's a utility defenseman who gives you so many different options. He can, if you need him to move pucks, he can do it. If you need him to skate and activate through the neutral zone, he can do it. If you need him to quarterback a power play as a supplementary quarterback, he can do it. If you need him to physically engage and try to be a menace, he can do that. So he gives you options. He's a multi-option type of defenseman. Every team needs a defenseman like this.
Yeah, so he's off to North Dakota next season. So I'm curious to see how the ice time is going to work.
How's that going to work? Yeah.
Yeah, because you have Verhoff, who's going to be in the second year. Carson Carroll's just coming in as a freshman, and then Mackenzie.
That's a logjam.
That's a lot.
That's a logjam.
They have other defensemen too coming back, so that's going to be an interesting year. Next guy on the list we want to mention is Liam Lefebvre, who's a kid who literally came out of nowhere in a queue this year. Second year eligible. He was playing high school hockey last year in the U.S. Came to Rimouski. Rimouski signed him as a free agent. Puts himself on the map. Got traded to Chicoutimi and played like a really good secondary scoring physical role for them. They won the Q. They played in the Mem Cup. You might remember he got into a fight at the Mem Cup. Pretty good fight with a guy from Everett. I like this kid. He plays the game hard. He threw one of the best hit I've seen all year against a kid from Quebec. I think he might have got suspended for that hit, but I don't think he did. Anyway, that's a lot of hockey. Watch a lot of hockey. But yeah, he's a center / winger. Really can shoot a puck. Skating is fine. Like, he's not the most creative, most gifted playmaker, but it's fine. It will hold. I think NHL upside, you're looking at like more of a depth player, but could be a fourth line player. And he does have a unique style of with his physicality, ability to fight, and he can really shoot a puck. So I like what I saw from him this year. And the more the season progressed, the more he was moving up on my list. So an interesting guy to follow at the draft. We have him 39. I think he's gonna go in the second round from what I'm hearing. If not, he's gonna go in the third round. So interesting. We mentioned like those physical player. There's less and less of those. So when you can, I think he might get picked, pretty soon in the draft just because of that. It's tough to find like those real hard-nosed physical guy. And he does really well down low. That's his pretty much offensively. That's his bread and butter. Really good around the net. He plays nasty too, so you have to be aware of him on the ice. He's probably playing in the wrong league to play that style of play. So I think he's going to play one more year in the queue, then he's off to college. I think he's committed to Vermont, but I don't think that might change. Or maybe in the summer or next season he might switch school. Because Vermont, they have not really developed that much NHL guys in the past decade. So if I'm the team drafting him, I'd probably be like, you might want to switch your school for the NCAA. Brad, you have anything on him, or you want to?
I haven't seen him enough to comment on. I just know that you were bullish on him, and that he's no razor is interesting. We'll see if he can translate it.
So since you didn't say a word about him, I will not say a word about the next guy because it's all yours. Tomas Galvas.
Oh, God. Here we go.
Third year eligible prospect.
Third year eligible. Here we go. The thumb. Nicknamed the thumb.
The floor is yours.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny because like I really thought more people would be on board, but I thought he'd be up lists. And now I always say I'm on my thumb island. I'm just alone here, sitting on this island with Galvez. Yeah, so he was. We had him ranked. I don't know where we put him on our actual list, but I had him ranked pretty aggressively in the 2024 draft. I had him top 45. Um, the problem with his game, the reason he wasn't drafted, was because the skill level wasn't at the rate that you typically want to see for a smaller defenseman. Basically, our rule at Hockey Prospect is if you're 5'10", 5'11" defenseman, unless you're unbelievably dynamic, very unlikely that you're too high on our list. Unless you got like a Ryan Lynn type of game. And again, that's very rare. So what we needed to see from him over the last couple of years, and we monitored him and tracked him, is just to see if he could develop more skill. And that's pretty rare. Like there's a reason he's passed over. It's not very common for a kid who's already smaller to develop enough skill to be able to jump and put him up a ranking and say, oh, we might have actually had this one wrong. And he's done everything he could possibly do this season. He was spectacular at the U20s. World Championships, I thought he had some exceptional sequences. He was named, I think, the player of the Extra Liga. I think he was named the MVP of Extra Liga, and he's the youngest player to ever do it. Sometimes what happens is you get a kid, and he's tiny, and you look at the modern game, and we knew the direction. Jerome wrote an article about this years ago, projecting the smaller defensemen were going to die out of the league. We see it time and time again. Now that is turned over a little bit. Sean Walker, not big. Gostis Bear, not big. Carolina did it with a bit of a smaller back end in some areas. Obviously, he still had some monsters there too, like Keandre Miller. But the point is that Galvez already had everything else needed besides the production to actually translate. He's a remarkable skater, extremely dynamic, multi-directional skater. His engine is up at the top of this class. He backs down to nobody. He held physically in Extra Liga. He held physically at the World Championship. He dominated the U20s, and he could quarterback a power play at a much more efficient level than I think any of us projected him to. So I think he is absolutely a second, third round pick all day in this draft now. I know it's unique, and I know he's an extremely rare type of player to make it, but the processing rates are there. Sometimes you look at a kid and you just see the mental makeup, and it's just, he has the right mental makeup to just constantly prove doubters wrong. That's how I feel about Galvez. And I'm no longer a doubter. I didn't have him on the list last year. I left him off because I thought the skill was on. This year, I'm done doubting him. I'm not doubting this kid anymore. I think he actually finds a way to be an extremely unique depth defenseman for a team that's a plus player.
So, 2024, we ranked him 68, and he obviously went undrafted. We didn't rank him last year.
No, we didn't rank him last year. I remember that.
And he did not win any awards this season in the Extra League.
He didn't?
No.
Man, I read something. I thought maybe it was some sort of defensive award, or maybe I dreamed it. And now he's gonna have to live up to that for me in the coming years and win it now for me next year in Extra League if he plays there.
My quick research, he didn't win any.
I'll believe your research. But either way, the U20 level, he was spectacular. World level, he held. Extra League, he improved dramatically. And yeah, I'm done doubting the kid. I just think he's going to be a very unique unicorn-style small defenseman in the NHL.
Okay, next guy is Adam Andersson from Leksand, Sweden. Not the most talented player, Brad, but we're pretty, I think, confident that he will at least be a fourth-line center in the NHL. He's big. He plays the right way. He's physical. I think his playmaking is a bit underrated. You look at his production this year with Leksand. Well, Leksand had nothing. They had Lagerberg Hoen, but he was hurt.
And defensive-minded system.
Yeah.
So
gotta take that. He only scored 3 goals during the year, but when you watch him play with Sweden internationally, you saw more of that skill.
Way more potential area.
They played different tournaments during the year, but one tournament was on small ice, and he was awesome on small ice. Yeah, and the tournament was here in Quebec in Trois-Rivières. So that tells me, and he can kill penalties. He has a lot of whatever you want from your fourth line center. He brings it. The skating will need to improve a little bit. but he I really like him as a fourth line center. We have him 46 on our list here, so we're thinking third round pick with him. So I like him. I really enjoy watching him play with the national team for Sweden, and I'm looking for to see what happens with him at the NHL draft.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm with you. Do you want? I'll bring in Domain Christoph Zongoth into this too, since he's our
Sure.
last player. There's definitely some contrast there to be made and some overlap. These types of players, like they're not the flashiest players. They just do things the right way. They're quote unquote hockey players. They have the prototypical size, the awareness, the intelligence we're looking for. And Jerome's point internationally, he just looked like a completely different beast. Just a
Mhm.
much more productive, offensive oriented player, but admittedly one that like in the book, I compared him to Oscar back out of Dallas. I think that's fair to say, like his career trajectory would be something somewhat similar to that, meaning fourth line, insulating style, winger, hybrid center, who's going to play the game the right way and just give you efficient minutes in the minutes they get. That's the way I would characterize Adam Andersson. With Christoph Zongoth, not as tall as Andersson, has the same issue with the skating where the acceleration out of the gate, the three-step area quickness is lagging behind there. But we're betting on the fact that, these kids, that they take a bit of time for the coordination to catch up. And this player is a specialized penalty killer. He was so good internationally. At the world level in friendlies before he got to the worlds, I was very impressed with him, and I was interested to see if he could actually translate that over to the worlds. I thought he did an admirable job. When I saw him in U20 Sorry, it's very similar to Adam Andersson in the sense you look at the production, you're like, there's no way he's going to play. Then you look at the eye test, and you're like, wait now, this player is better than this production, much better. And that's Zongoth. Zongoth has a soft set of hands, sees the ice relatively well, and he's a bulldozer of a kid, and he plays the game the right way. He'll get in high danger areas, very good at finding soft ice. He's good at ghosting coverage. There's an intelligence to him, just like with Adam Andersson, that will translate. So those are the two big dark horse centers really down our ranking there that we really project to have some potential as maybe fourth line players in the NHL one day.
Yeah. I mean, we have another one, Brad. We can finish with him. Jakub Frolo,
Yeah.
a winger out of he's Czech, but he's playing in Finland. Maybe a few thoughts from you on him as a potential greedy depth winger at the NHL level.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, Yakov. So again, we're going to have to go back to Minaho a little bit there. There is a bit of overlap in the sense that they're not gifted skaters, not very gifted goal scorers, but their maturity, 200-foot game, attention to detail is all there in spades. His ability to battle through traffic, his ability to understand how to win battles along the boards, his forechecking capacity, even though, again, not gifted skater, very smart in terms of understanding player trajectories and knowing how to pickpocket players, uses leverage. All that's there. He's a primary playmaker, definitely a secondary shooter. This is where it's interesting. His penalty minute count, Jerome. Oh my, he has a ton of them, but some of it is because he's just sporadically
angry.
Yeah. But then there's other, we've talked to a friend of ours, Simon St. Laurent, who some of you might have read his work, awesome scout, who he talked about how there's times where he just goes right over the red line. He'll just red line out, just sees red and just goes after kids and gets himself in a lot of trouble. But NHL staff don't mind that. And it's so there's an intensity factor there with a pretty gifted playmaker who plays the right way. The issues there, and the reason he's further down our list is because he's not very dynamic, and the skating is definitely not at the level that you would theoretically want to see. And then the shot is he's never going to be a natural shooter. So those are some of the limitations and some of the reasons why we still have time for him.
Yeah, so he's 72 on our list, so he looks like a 6th, 7th round guy for us.
He'll go higher. He'll go higher where we have him.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to wrap up this video, guys. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. We did a recap of the Russian class. We talk about plenty of underrated prospect from us or like dark horse. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. We'll have more video coming up soon on our YouTube channel. So make sure to subscribe, like the video, share it, do whatever you need to do. So we'll see you guys soon for another video. And then, don't forget, we're going to have a live show Friday night, the day of the draft. We're going to, a bit like last year, we're going to talk about, those selection being made. So come hang out with us. Should be a lot more fun to hang out with whatever TV production they have going on. Because
based off last year's, you should come to us. We'll actually explain to you what your team's drafting.
Yeah. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay, I'm just gonna end the recording, and then I might get kicked out.
How do we do? 3.5 hours? No, 3 hours and 15.
2 hours 45 minutes.
Oh, that's still pretty good though.
I mean, it's both video.
Both video. That's pretty good though. 2:45, hour and a half yesterday. We're killing it. We're killing it. We're doing it good.
The first video was like an hour, and the second will be like an hour 40.
Sounds good.
The good news is that I don't have to edit anything.
Not much, man. Not much.